They kept it on their shelf for years, a small glass bottle filled with water from a distant shrine. Each morning they'd touch it, whisper a prayer, and walk away feeling protected. But over time, something changed. The prayers became shorter, the awareness faded, the bottle remained, but the spirit behind it disappeared. In today's world, we often place deep trust in objects we believe are sacred. Holy water, incense, charms, ancient relics. We treat them as if they hold power by themselves. But the Shaolin path teaches something radically different, a truth few dare to explore. Nothing is sacred unless the mind behind it is clear, still, and aware. Blind faith in physical symbols can slowly lead to spiritual decay. The more we give power to the object, the more we lose power within ourselves. This is how discipline turns into superstition, how mindfulness turns into dependency. In this video, I will take you through the unseen danger hidden in sacred tools. Not to reject them, but to see them clearly. We will look at how the Shaolin masters approach ritual, how they train the mind instead of worshipping matter, and how real transformation always begins from within. You will hear stories you weren't taught, lessons not found in books, and perspectives that may challenge what you once thought was sacred. Stay with me until the end. The truth is not always comfortable, but it sets the path free. Welcome to 1000 Days of Stillness. I am Shi Heng Yi. If your path is one of clarity, discipline, and self-mastery, then this space is your temple. Subscribe now and begin your training. When the wind is silent, you can hear the mountain breathe. When the mind is still, you can feel the truth within your bones. In the Shaolin temple, there is no rush to find answers outside. We begin each day not with objects but with breath. Breath is the beginning of energy, what we call qi. It is not something you can buy, borrow, or bless into existence. It must be cultivated through stillness, through struggle, through sincerity. Many people chase spiritual tools hoping for shortcuts. They place crystals on their skin, water on their foreheads, scrolls under their pillows, and wonder why the mind remains restless, why fear still follows them. The answer is simple. No object can replace the discipline of inner work. The monks of old trained for hours before the sun rose, not only to sharpen their bodies, but to test their hearts, to feel where the mind wavers, where the breath shortens, where the energy leaks. Through repetition, they learned that power is not force, it is presence. One disciple once asked the master, "Why don't we use amulets like the others?" The master replied, "Because the tiger does not wear a charm to know it is a tiger." Relying on objects creates a dangerous illusion that change can happen without transformation, that growth can be gifted instead of earned. But real strength, true spiritual protection, comes from knowing yourself deeply, from facing your own storms and choosing stillness anyway. This is why we train. This is why we sit in silence, strike with precision, and breathe like the earth beneath our feet. Because when you master your energy, you no longer seek power, you become it. A monk once stood before a basin of water, perfectly still. He bowed, dipped his fingers in, and placed a single drop on his forehead. A novice nearby asked, "Is that holy water?" The monk replied, "It is water. My mind is the one that makes it holy." This is the heart of Shaolin teaching. The power is not in the tool, but in the intention behind its use. A bowl of water, a burning stick of incense, a symbol carved in stone. None of these hold meaning without presence. Without conscious use, they are only matter. What makes them sacred is the discipline of the one who holds them. When the breath is calm, when the thoughts are clean, when the heart is aligned, then even silence becomes a prayer. Even a step becomes a ceremony. The danger comes when we forget this, when we give the instrument more weight than the awareness that wields it. This is how idolatry begins, not with reverence, but with forgetfulness. Forgetfulness of the self, of responsibility, of inner mastery. True spiritual work is not decoration. It is not the robe, not the ritual, not the relic. It is the quiet battle to keep the mind from drifting, the courage to face one's own illusions, the willingness to walk without needing symbols to light the way. The Shaolin path teaches that the mind is the true altar. When it is disciplined, clear, and awake, anything you touch becomes a tool for awakening. Without that, even the most ancient object becomes just another distraction. In the end, the bowl is only water. What changes it is you. In the early hours before dawn, the temple grounds are silent. A line of monks moves through their morning forms, slow, deliberate, each breath measured. From the outside, it may look like routine, But inside each movement is awareness, intention, presence. Shaolin practice does not honor repetition for its own sake. It honors awakened repetition. Movement without mindfulness is just muscle. Ritual without reflection becomes sleepwalking. It is easy to fall into patterns, to light incense each morning, recite familiar words, bow to familiar images, and believe that this is enough. But when the mind is absent, even the most sacred act becomes hollow. Habit wears the clothing of devotion but carries none of its weight. There is a story of a disciple who copied the same bow every day, head to floor, arms extended. One day the master asked him, "Where did your spirit go?" The student was confused. "I bow every morning." The master replied, "But this morning your body bowed, your mind stayed in bed." This is the danger. Rituals are meant to sharpen the blade of awareness, but without presence, they dull it. They become mass comforting, familiar, and empty. Discipline is not about doing more. It is about doing with full attention. The Shaolin way demands that every breath has weight, every step has direction, every gesture is awake. Even silence is not just silence, it is listening. To walk the path of mastery is to resist the pull of spiritual autopilot. It is to see each moment, even the repeated ones, as fresh, alive, new, because when the mind is present, there is no such thing as routine, there is only practice and presence. A monk once said, "Before you call anything holy, first purify your own heart." To name something sacred is no small act. It is a vow, not only to respect the object but to align your life with the depth of its meaning. In the Shaolin tradition, this alignment is the core of integrity. What you do, what you say, what you think, all must reflect the same truth. Many seek sacredness outside, while carrying chaos within. They hold prayer beads with unkind thoughts. They burn incense while speaking with bitterness. They kneel before altars but refuse to bow to humility. This is not devotion, it is contradiction. True sacredness is demanding. It asks for discipline in the unseen places, in the thoughts you do not voice, in the choices no one witnesses. It asks for consistency between what you revere and how you live. Shaolin ethics teach that the outer practice must reflect the inner state. To carry a sacred object while harboring deception is to stain it. To chant words of peace while feeding anger is to hollow the chant. Every act of reverence is an invitation to rise, to clean the mirror of the self. There is a story of a monk who refused to enter the temple for weeks. When asked why, he said, "My thoughts were unclean. The floor is sacred. I could not bring my dust across it." Sacredness is not decoration. It is responsibility. It is a daily effort to match the weight of your actions to the light you claim to follow. Without that, even the holiest symbol becomes an empty shell, a truth abandoned by the one who claims to protect it. There is a quiet strength in meeting life without shields. In the Shaolin path, this strength is not born from protection but from exposure, from walking directly into discomfort and remaining steady. When one relies too heavily on sacred objects for safety, be it holy water, charms, or symbols, something within begins to weaken. The mind tightens, fear creeps in. Not because danger is near, but because the spirit has grown used to leaning on something outside itself. A monk once traveled without any talismans, carrying only silence and breath. When asked why he had no protection, he smiled and said, "The danger I fear is forgetting my own strength." Shaolin training is a discipline of inner fortitude. Pain is not avoided, it is studied. Fear is not pushed away, it is examined. Challenges are not softened by rituals, but welcomed as mirrors. Each hardship reveals the edges of the self, the limits of patience, the places where courage still sleeps. To build resilience, one must stop running from the fire and instead learn to sit within it. The body is tested through movement. The mind is tested through stillness. The spirit is tested through solitude. There are no shortcuts, no symbols that can walk the path for you. The danger of external crutches is subtle. They promise comfort but demand belief. And belief, when rooted in fear, leads to dependency. Over time, the tool becomes the master, and the seeker forgets the way back to themselves. Real mastery comes when you face the world with bare hands and a calm heart, when nothing outside you defines your strength, and when you no longer ask, "Will this protect me?" but instead, "Am I living with enough truth to stand unguarded?" When the wind stops, even muddy water begins to clear. The same is true for the mind. In stillness, all things settle. Shaolin practice holds silence as one of its deepest medicines. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of presence. In this quiet, the monk does not escape the world, he enters it fully, with no noise to hide behind. Thoughts rise like smoke, emotions surface like waves, and then slowly they fade. A calm lake does not need to chase clarity, it becomes clear by remaining undisturbed. In the same way, true purification comes not from oils, herbs, or sacred waters, but from sitting still, breathing slow, and watching the self return to itself. There is an old saying in the temple, better to spend 1 hour in true stillness than a lifetime sprinkling holy water with a restless mind. The meaning is simple. Stillness is not just peace, it is power. A mind that can hold silence can hold anything. Some seek spiritual cleansing through constant rituals. They pour, they chant, they burn, they bow, but without reflection, these acts become noise. They wash the body, but not the heart. In the Shaolin way, meditation is not optional. It is the well from which all discipline is drawn. The body is trained through movement. The spirit is refined through stillness. And the mind, the most unruly of all, is softened not by force but by silence. To ignore stillness is to ignore the very space where wisdom appears. For in silence one hears the truth. In stillness one feels the storm pass. And in that quiet there is no need for holy water because the soul remembers it was always pure. A student once asked, "How do I cleanse my spirit?" The master poured a cup of water and placed it in front of him. "This water is pure," he said, "but leave it untouched for days and it will cloud." The spirit is no different. It does not stay clear by accident. It requires movement, breath, focus, and restraint, again and again. This is the heart of Shaolin discipline. Purification is a living process, not a moment of ritual. Some believe that sprinkling holy water can erase the weight of daily life. But the truth is harder and more beautiful. No water can cleanse what the mind refuses to face. No ritual can replace the sharpness of inner work. In Shaolin tradition, purification begins with sweat, with controlled breath in the midst of fatigue, with holding the posture 1 more second, with silence when anger wants to speak. The body trains the mind trains the heart, and through this, the spirit is refined. There is no shortcut, only the slow fire of repetition. The monk does not fear this fire, he trusts it, because each act of discipline burns away a layer of illusion. Holy water may join the journey, yes, it may mark a moment of renewal, but it does not walk the path, you do. With every conscious breath, with every moment you choose truth over comfort, presence over distraction, stillness over reaction. The danger of superstition is that it offers relief without responsibility. But the Shaolin way demands that your practice carry the weight of your intention. Only then is the cleansing real. Only then does the inner sky begin to clear. There is a kind of sight that does not come from the eyes. It comes from stillness, from discipline, from the quiet courage to look directly at what others avoid. Shaolin monks are trained not just to move with precision, but to see with clarity, to see through illusion, fear, and ego like mist parting under the morning sun. This clarity is not given, it is earned through long hours of silence, through sweat, and through facing the self without distraction. Often what we call sacred becomes a veil, a soft curtain we hang between us and what we're not ready to see. A charm around the neck to quiet the fear we've never faced. A bowl of water to hide the pain we've never named. But the Shaolin path leaves no room for hiding. Mastery demands honesty, especially the kind that feels uncomfortable. It requires one to sit with the inner shadow, not cover it with ritual. To see the fear, not mask it with symbols. To face the ego, not feed it with spiritual decoration. There is a quiet danger in clinging to holy objects. They offer a sense of control, but control is not clarity. Control is the ego's shield. Clarity is the soul's mirror. The monks learn to walk without props, to move without masks. They learn that true strength is being able to sit alone with what is real, unfiltered, unprotected, and unafraid. When illusion falls away, what remains is presence, not the kind that needs to be blessed or branded, but the kind that simply is, steady, clear, awake. That is the essence of mastery. Not power over others, not the accumulation of sacred tools, but the freedom that comes from finally seeing through them. A master once held out a cup to his student and began to pour tea. The cup filled quickly, but the master did not stop. The tea overflowed and spilled across the table. The student cried out, "Master, the cup is full." The master nodded. "Yes, and how can I offer you anything new when your cup is already full?" Shaolin wisdom speaks often of emptiness, not as a loss, but as a state of openness. To be empty is to be ready, ready to receive, ready to learn, ready to transform. But when the mind is crowded with rigid beliefs, superstitions, and attachments to sacred objects, there is no room left for truth. Many hold tightly to rituals, to charms, to stories passed down without question. They carry them like treasures, fearing that without them they will be vulnerable. But this clinging does not protect, it limits. It fills the cup with what is old and unmoving, leaving no space for the fresh clarity that practice can bring. Shaolin training teaches the discipline of release, letting go of what is unnecessary, letting go of what was once useful but has now become a crutch. Even sacred items must be placed down if they begin to cloud the mind. True growth begins when you stop trying to hold everything and start allowing space for stillness. In that stillness, wisdom enters quietly like water finding an open bowl. The path is not about collecting more. It is about refining, reducing, returning, clearing away illusion, so what is essential can rise. Only when the cup is empty can the teachings flow in. Only when the heart is quiet can the truth speak, and only then does the journey truly begin. The water was never the danger. The danger lies in forgetting where true power comes from. Shaolin wisdom teaches us that no object, no matter how sacred, can do the work that the mind and heart must do for themselves. Tools may point the way, but they cannot walk the path. Rituals may offer rhythm, but only mindfulness brings awakening. In your daily life, ask yourself gently, am I present or just performing? Am I clear or clinging? Power grows wherever we place it, so place it where it truly belongs, within. Choose awareness over automatic habit. Choose simplicity over superstition. Choose discipline over dependency. This is the quiet strength the Shaolin path reveals, not in symbols, but in the steady return to presence. Thank you for walking a few steps of that path with us today. If this message resonates with you, consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel, 1000 Days of Stillness, where we explore ancient teachings for a modern world. May your journey be grounded, mindful, and free.